How do we scale our agency, right? So this is a very misunderstood concept. A lot of people think there's this secret body copy or there's secret ad copy or this secret funnel that's going to get you to scale to these huge numbers a month. And by no means is that what it is. Um, if you don't know me, my name is Jesse Beltran. I scaled my agency to its first 20K month in 3 months, its first 20K, 24K week in 6 months. And during the process, I learned what it actually means to scale, right? I mean, we 4x'd in 3 months, which I think is pretty good. And also, I did this at ages 18 to 19. So if I could do it, you could definitely do it, right? So, what is scale? First of all, we have to define what we're trying to do. So, scale is not doing a certain amount of money. It's not as simple as saying, oh, I'm getting this lifetime value or I'm achieving this KPI. Scale is simply more quantity. All it is simply more volume that you put into a system. That's literally it. And as a consequence of putting more volume into a system, the side effect is you get more money out of it. So that's the idea of scaling. We have something that works, let's do double of it, and now we make double the money, right? So the issues that come with doubling something is things like we have to deal with bottlenecks, right? We have to get proof of concept. Then we have to have the foundation, the structure to actually hold the system up if we have double the throughput coming. So it's kind of like a river going, and let's say the river is held up by these wood pieces. If we're able to make sure that wood is strong enough to keep the river, like the base of the river going through, then we're good. So I'm going to show you the idea. It's the secret of scaling is mental models, and that's what I'm going to break down for you. So I drew a little river for you. I hope it's pretty enough for you. So we have this little mountain here, and this mountain has some rain drop off that goes into this pretty little river. And this little mountain here is going to be our marketing. So this is where leads come from. This throughput right here, this little water and stuff, this is leads. That's what it represents. And this marketing channel is going to be emails, as I said. So let's say we're sending out, I don't know, 100 emails a day, and that's where this water comes from. The idea is we're going to have all of these bottlenecks during this river, which is these yellow containers. At each yellow container, how do we make sure that as much water as possible can flow through? Each one of these bottlenecks can be represented as any stage in your customer's process, right? So everything from every single button they click, from every single letter they read, to being on the sales call and having a conversation with your salesperson, to actually clicking the buy button at the end, or when you give them their card information. All of those things are opportunities for your leads to leave. So what you need to do first is map out, I recommend using some sort of flow chart, map out literally every step of the system that someone could leave and drop off on. So once you've mapped out the system, you have your bottlenecks identified. Now we need to understand, okay, we know the bottleneck. How do we know what bottleneck needs to be fixed? What's the order in which we fix bottlenecks? How do we prioritize bottlenecks? And what do we actually change to fix them? The idea is we want to fix the bottlenecks from top to bottom. So this would be 1, 2, 3, right? Let's say number 1, this is clients reads email. I'm going to keep it super high level just for simplicity. Then let's say number 2 is appointment booked. Then let's say bottleneck number 3 is the sales process. So they need to be sold. So sales process. So all of these here represent a subsystem. So this is called a macro system, what we have here. So we have this guy right here, which is the input. We have this entire river right here, which would be the process. I'm going to delete it for simplicity. And then right here we have is the output, which is hopefully money. And then all of the little data between here is going to be our feedback in the form of metrics. Okay, I'll make that, there you go, a little bigger for you. That plays all the way back into our beginning of the system. So that's the macro system here. And each bottleneck has its own subsystem. So I'll show you what this looks like. So you see here, here's a little diagram. So we have our inputs. So we take whatever it is, we put it into a process here. That turns into an output, and then we get feedback in the form of metrics. So by understanding that each one of our bottlenecks is a subsystem, we can start to learn how to fix them. So number one, we have reads email. So the input is the lead seeing the email. The process is going to be, they see things like, so I'm going to put a little tag here. Let's say we're learning the subsystem of email here, email subsystem. So we get this input of the eyeballs of the lead. Then they go through this process of reading the email copy. They watch your Loom video, because you should have one in your emails. And they see things like your offer. And let's say you have a guarantee. And we'll throw subject line just for teaching purposes. So the way we can look at all these processes and know which ones to fix is by our feedback. For example, let's say our open rate. You shouldn't track open rate, by the way. Fun fact, it ruins deliverability. But let's say our open rate isn't good. Well, the only thing that affects open rate is the subject line, because that's the stimuli they get, and then the initial lines that they see on the email preview. So that way we know, okay, we need to either change our subject line or our opening line in the email to get them to open more. Then once we fix that, so you can see once we fix this first bottleneck, let's say this is the open rate, now we have to see, okay, let's say our next bottleneck is they actually need to book an appointment. So that takes us to the next bottleneck in this subsystem of reads email. Okay, so we can check off subject line, we optimized that, we tested it, we A/B tested it, we know it's working. Now, they're not watching the video, and our appointment booking link is in the video. So if we have a Loom view rate, which is a metric that's below KPI, Key Performance Indicator, it's what your goal metric is, then we know, okay, we have to probably change something in the email copy. Well, if we think about it, if somebody isn't watching the video, they probably don't like our offer, right? Or they think it's too risky if we don't have a guarantee. So maybe it's our guarantee that's the issue as well. Usually it's your offer though. So that means we have to change the way that we package our offer. So now we can start testing different offer copy and see if that opens up this floodgate that I'm talking about to get us to the next bottleneck. So, okay, great. We optimized the Loom copy. Now we have a good Loom view rate. It's in KPI, but they're not booking an appointment. So we changed the Loom view script so they book an appointment. And now everything's good. We've broken through this first bottleneck of reading email. Now it gets us to the appointment booked, right? So now we need to make sure we have the infrastructure set up so they can book an appointment through the Loom video. And also the questions you have on your meeting booked, that's stimuli in of itself. You can actually cause pain on your onboarding form for the videos or for the appointment they book. You can ask things like, where are you at right now in revenue? Where do you want to be? Why did you book this call? Things like that. So make sure that, let's say we test that thing, or we test the questions on the appointment meeting little link thing. So we got this down. Now we're down to the sales appointment one. Right, so you can see once we can start to break down the life cycle of a customer and just break it down into subsystems and using metrics to test, now we can get it to eventually, we break down all these bottlenecks to where we get the money, and hooray, we make a successful business. And then I could even get to the details and nitty-gritty about sales process, but this isn't a video on sales, so I'm not gonna get into that. So cool, now we have the philosophy on, okay, I need to test all these bottlenecks, I need to break through all these bottlenecks, but how do I actually test, right? What does that actually look like? So here's the idea. We have a few variables when it comes to testing. We have a concept called regression to the mean. So we'll go over that first. And then we have testing validity. Okay. So regression to the mean. This one's pretty simple. So let's say I flip a coin, right? We'll say heads and tails, win-loss, right? Let's say the chance is 50-50, right? What most people would expect is a win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, right? But in reality, it doesn't work like this. You might get win, 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 loss, loss, win, then loss, 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 right? It's the same exact probability to get both, right? It's pretty simple stuff. The issue is people will have something like loss, 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 give up here, and then win, 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 win. This lays over into literally everything in life. This could be sales. If I'm closing at 50% in sales, I'm awesome. If I get 5 losses in a row and now my attitude's shit on the call and I expect the last 5 to be like lost sales, then this ruins my wins that I was literally just one sale away from, right? And the way that this relates to testing is that if we have a quantity of testing of only 5, just for example, let's say I send 5 emails and the first are losses and I stop testing it and I assume this variable, so let's say variable 1 and variable 2, and this is going to be of email copy. Let's say I think variable 1 is not in KPI and I stop testing after this first 5 emails I send. Well, okay, but if I just did twice as many, I would have known, oh shit, this is working at 50% KPI. That's really good, right? But simply because you did not do enough quantity, you don't have testing validity. So what you need to do is for each subsystem that you run into, you have to identify, first of all, what is KPI? You have to identify how many do I have to test of this to make sure that it's a valid test. And then you want to make sure you're testing one variable at a time. Because if I test variable 1 and variable 2 at the same time, and we'll say this is T1, right? Let's say I change, let's say this test 2, and now I have V1.2 and V2.2, so 2 different variables. Let's say this going from V1 increased my metric by, let's say, 2%. But V2 actually decreased my performance by negative 0.5. If you changed both variables at the same time, all you're going to see is, oh, I increased my metrics by 1.5%. That's great, right? If you would have just tested variable 1, you would have known that you could have actually achieved 2% increase in whatever that metric is. Or if you only tested variable 2 alone, you would have known, okay, this variable, changing it, actually gave me worse results. But if you changed both at the same time, there is no way of knowing which variable actually improved your metrics. So a way that this actually applies to real life and how you actually optimize your system is if a variable could be your email copy or your guarantee. If you change your guarantee, let's say you change your offer, and let's say you change your guarantee as well, right? And then you get your final metric to see if it worked. If you change both of them at the same time, you don't know which one had an effect on the system. And if we don't know if we don't have testing validity, right? That's what we're working on. Then we're not able to optimize the system and break through the bottlenecks to reach our end goal of getting throughput to money, right? So you need to apply this testing philosophy and the system philosophy of our subsystems to get all the way through the river to get our macro system in KPI. That is the point of everything I just showed you. So once we have this beautiful thing called proof of concepts, right? So if it works, it's like a virus, right? If the way coronavirus works, it infects a few people, and it's the same exact infection that works on the mass of people. Once the virus knows that it can contact another person via a cough, and it can survive in that person and have them cough on other people, once that only was with 5 people, it was able to spread to millions, right? That's the same idea. Once we know we have this system in KPI, and once we have our one, that's very important, just one marketing channel, which is emails in KPI. Let's say we're sending 100. Let's say we have appointment booking rate. Let's say it's at 1%, right? And we want it, ideally KPI is, let's say 1.2%, for example. It's actually, KPI is 1.5% for appointments booked. Let's say we're 0.2 off, but we're booking appointments. We're booking, let's say, one appointment for every day because we're at a 1% appointment booking rate. Do not try to optimize the system. It makes more sense to keep your proof of concept in your system, not change a single variable. Do not change a single variable, right? It makes more sense to simply say, okay, I know this is working right now. Why don't I just double this? Why don't I just start sending 200, right? And now I'm getting double the throughput. Now I'm getting double the output of money and double the metrics so I have more data to actually improve the system. That's the idea. So now this builds us to our next problem is infrastructure. How do we build the infrastructure to be able to handle twice as many emails? For example, with emails, okay, now we need to purchase 10 more domains. Now we need to set up that many more emails. Now we need the time to warm up all those emails. Now, if you're sending manually, now we need VAs to send those emails. How do we keep our margins high enough while hiring people to send those emails? How do we hire in the right spots? How do we hire efficiently? So that shit's just simple, right? You can figure that out on your own. But just make sure that before we try to scale, we have that infrastructure. Because if we start putting more throughput, right, and we can't hold all of these barriers up to where they need to be, now we have water leaking out everywhere, and you have complaining clients because whatever it is isn't working and not able to provide your service. Whatever it is, the whole system sets on fire, right? Bad fire, bad, bad, bad. So make sure you have the infrastructure. That's the idea there. So let's say we've had proof of concept. We've doubled our sending. It's like, okay, what now, right? Let's say I get to the point where I'm sending 10,000 emails a day, for example, right? We're booking a crap ton of appointments. But now we notice, once we went from 100 to 200, let me delete this actually. Once we went from 100 to 200 here, we doubled the amount of appointments. But when we went from 200 to 10,000, we only, let's say, 4x'd our amount of appointments. And it's like, okay, something's wrong there. Now we more than doubled by far to 10,000 emails a day, but we only increased by 4x. That's a big red flag. This is the concept of economies of scale if you took an econ class. There's a point where you start depreciating in your output, even though you're putting more input, right? It's just how things work. Once you reach that point, it's a good sign. You shouldn't be sad. This means we have mastered this marketing channel. This means we can start building more mountains, okay? Now what you do, once you have your initial marketing channel maxed out, you build a new mountain. Simple as that. Now we start looking at something, let's say paid ads. Now we have another flow flowing into the river. Again, make sure you have the infrastructure. Now we do the same thing. We start small. We start maybe, we'll say a $2,000 a month budget for work. So $2K a month to get rule number one, proof of concept, right? Start at 2K a month. We get into KPI, double it. It worked. You have the infrastructure, double it again, double it again, double it again, over and over again, until you have maxed out Google Ads, where you start getting diminishing returns on your investment. Now you've mastered this. Okay, cool. Now let's start looking into other marketing channels. Let's say YT, YouTube, same idea. Same idea. We need to get rid of the bottlenecks on YouTube. Same thing. So people aren't opening our videos. We're getting low views. Okay, we have to fix the bottleneck is our thumbnails or our title or our SEO and the hashtags in our description, whatever. Okay, we broke through that bottleneck. What's the next bottleneck? Oh, they're not watching the video, so that YouTube's not pushing our videos. Okay, well now we had to add stimuli in the beginning of the video. We have to say, oh, you have the attention span of a monkey, so if you don't watch the rest of this video, then you're a monkey, right? Anyways, so yeah, make sure you are putting the same concepts when you're approaching each one of these marketing channels. The idea is max out all of these channels, build all of these marketing channels, max them out until you are full. And once you're at that amount of money, then you start looking into, okay, so I have all these mountains, right? All these mountains. We've maxed out all of them. They're all putting a ton of throughput into the system, right? I've reached my prestige here. Now it's okay, we've done that. We don't have any other thing to put through the river. What do we do now? Like we're stuck. And if you've done this, you're making well over millions a year. I just want to make that clear. If you have one product, which would be this river itself, your service, and you have all of these marketing channels pulling into this one service, right? You're doing millions, or hopefully a million a month, to put it in perspective, right? Depends on the product, but now it's like, okay, well, the issue isn't building mountains anymore. The issue is we need to take it a step further. We need to build another river. So what is that river? That's a new product or service. That's moving into a whole other thing. Now we rebuild from the bottom up, right? Go into the market, find an issue in that market, create a solution for it, then follow the same process. Start with one, put in through the river, get rid of the bottlenecks. Go to the second mountain, put it through the river, get rid of the bottlenecks. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Repeat this same process over and over again until you eventually build something incredible. This isn't something that's quick. It's not easy for sure. And it takes a crap load of time. This takes years, decades, even centuries, even. But this is how it works. This is the mental model to scale, and I hope you enjoyed. If you are at a point where you need more clients, you need help with testing these systems, book an appointment with me. We show you how to do it through our paid program, and we show you how to do it really well and on autopilot. The trick here is all of these systems, right? All these subsystems take time to build, right? And you need the correct stimuli for each of these systems in depth, right? We take care of that for you so you can book appointments on autopilot. We are really good at lead acquisition. And so, yeah, if you're interested, quick plug, book an appointment below. And I hope this maniac mess of all of this stuff made it clear on how to scale your business. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye.